Being a Christian woman and walking in God's calling for our lives can be a difficult task. With the world and pop culture telling us to be one way, and the Bible saying another, you kind of end up feeling like an other. Well, you're not alone. Join me now and my friends as we navigate life in our 20s and 30s, while making sure we live out our faith, embrace our femininity, and looking cute. We discuss pop culture, life, careers, relationships, and so much more. Prepare to be entertained and educated. I know you're going to love it. Join our movement and embrace being another girl. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. You are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory.
And I'm Savannah.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Teacap. Hello, live studio audience. Welcome to the show. This is Those Are the Girls. If you are new here, we got some new followers, and I noticed some of our listens have gone up. If you are new here and you've never heard of Teacap before, you're going to love it. We're really going to talk about a lot of things going on. This week, I will say pop culture news has been kind of dull. We're going to talk about like two-ish things that kind of happened this week, or I guess last week at this point, because you're going to hear this on a Monday. And then we have a lot of really good stories that we're going to cover that you might not have heard unless you're in pro-life world, but we're going to give a different perspective. That is the purpose of this podcast. We talk about pop culture, all of these different topics that all of us girls are talking about with our friends, and we're giving like a different perspective. You might hear some of these stories, some of them in other podcasts, but you might not hear the same perspective that we have. So I'm excited to get into this. Savannah, how has your week been so far?
My week has been great. It's been kind of colder down here still. It hasn't felt like Florida for like 2 months. So I'm kind of over that. But I'm actually going to a wedding tonight for one of my friends. So I'm really excited. It's my husband and I's first wedding that we've gone to after being married. And I feel like after being married, you realize, I don't know, weddings just are different because you realize how much of a production it is to put on. And like, I don't know, I've just made a, commitment that I don't want to miss, because like you, I probably, we have friends like all around the country. And I've missed a lot of weddings because I've just been like, oh, it's too much. Like, I don't need to travel there. But like now after being married and realizing how important your wedding day is, I'm like, I think I am going to start traveling. This one's local, but I'm really excited. So that's what our Friday night looks like. What about you, Mallory?
I want to comment on what you said really quick. That's literally what I think I started saying that maybe like 2 or 3 years ago.
Really?
I missed some of my friends' weddings because like you, I have friends all over the country.
Right.
And then it might have been after I was in someone's wedding and I don't have the perspective of like being married, but I have the perspective of like being like best friends with the bride and just seeing how big of a production it is, but also just seeing like how important the Institute of Christian marriage is, and how I think so the first wedding I was in, I guess was 2 years ago at this point, maybe 3 years. Anyway, it was was that the first wedding I was? Yes. The other wedding was in November. Okay. So 2 years ago I was in one of my well, technically they were both my best friends. We met, long story short, in Virginia Beach. I introduced them, not to brag, and I got to give a speech at their wedding. Anyway,
I remember posts about that.
Yeah. So that was, one of my highlights of life. So like I just saw like behind the scenes like how important marriage was, and like they're both a really good Christian couple. And I remember my friend, his name is Brian. Actually, Erin, she was in everybody. The last interview, she talked about relationships and she talked about being engaged, and she's a Christian and a therapist. Like, she has a degree. Yeah. So it's a really good episode. If you guys haven't heard it, it's the episode right before this, by the time you guys get this episode. So anyway, Brian and I were talking about marriage, his marriage to Erin and everything. And he made a comment like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines that like, our marriage is not just ours. We want to be a good example for other people. Like, marriage is something that God has designed. It is the cornerstone of of society, really. It's very important. Not to say being single isn't important, but marriage is very important. So he was just making a comment like this. So our wedding isn't just like something that we're going to do. Our wedding is going to be like it's a ceremony. It's something deeper than just like going to the courthouse, going to get married. Like it's deeper than that.
Exactly.
So I really, like, after that, I was like, you know what? He is so right. Like, I want to be more present. Now, you know, if you're listening and you're my friend, you live in California, I'm going to do my best. You know, don't, like, hold your breath. But I am going to do my best.
Yeah. It's just right. It's just about realizing how important it is. Yeah. That actually what you said about, like, your marriage being a message. I'm trying to read. I have a quote that I love on my dream board, but it's a little too far away. It's something like, your marriage is a message to those around you. What are you preaching, or something like that?
Ooh,
it's something
that's good.
and it's, I mean, the same thing with single life, but it's like whatever state of life you're in is a message to those around you, the way that you handle it. And so being there for the, you know, the start of someone's new life, you know, is you know, figuratively speaking, is super important. So obviously it's not realistic to probably make it to like every single person's, but just to like have that in the back of your mind, or like at least remember to like congratulate them, send them gifts, like all this stuff. This is a huge moment, and I think especially for us, you know, as Christians and as countercultural girls, society doesn't like to celebrate marriage. I mean, yeah, we like to show royal weddings, whatever, right? But marriage, like more than just the wedding, society doesn't like to celebrate. So whenever we can encourage people at the beginning of that, you know, when they're just getting started, I think I've seen in my own life has been such a blessing for me. And so I'm trying to, you know, pay it forward to other people.
Yeah, that's so good. And you're right. Like, it's really about being intentional. So, like you said, you can't make every single one, but like intentionally trying, like putting forth an effort, because it is important. And even if you're a bridesmaid, that's one thing. I've been a bridesmaid in 3 weddings. And actually, I was asked to be a bridesmaid in a 4th wedding, but, and you know, being completely transparent, I saw the way he like talked to her. It was actually made everybody in our friend group uncomfortable. It's a long story. I can do an episode about that. It was actually
like a whole episode on that. I've never heard like a person that I know who've like refused to be a bridesmaid because of that.
So I'll say really quick. So like I actually was friends with the guy first, and then he started dating this girl. I really liked her. She was cool and everything, but I wasn't really that close to her. And I think I think she just needed an extra person, because she asked me like maybe a month or 2 after she had asked everybody else. I think she just needed an extra person. So I was like, yeah, sure. But I didn't know them as a couple. I was only friends with the guy. So then she started hanging around with us in our friend group, and I just saw some people just aren't ready, or some people are good people, but they're just not a good match. And that's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. But like, the way he talked to her made me really uncomfortable. You know, we, even with our church, we like had conversations with our like not youth pastors, we were, I guess, young adult pastors and stuff like that, about like, it was just like a big thing. And like, even our church was kind of like, hey, let's slow it down, because they were doing, anyway, I don't want to get too into that. But anyway, so like I was feeling convicted. Like I could not sleep. Like it was actually like really weighing on me. Like I was having problems sleeping. Because he just really did not treat her like, I'm sorry if you're listening, and you know, this could be controversial. If a man raises his voice at you in front of other people, especially, red flag, not the person for you. He would do that in front of us. And I'm like, what is he doing when we're not there? He could change. He definitely could have some anger issues. And the thing was, I never saw him, like, once again, he was my friend, so I never saw that side of him. So it was just kind of weird to see that with him in a relationship. Anyway, so it just made me very uncomfortable. I was not sleeping. Like, I was like stressing over it. Like I was having, like, it was weighing on me. And then I really thought about it, and I talked to like a woman in my church who I saw as like a spiritual leader, mother type figure. And she was like, if you truly cannot get, like, when you are someone's bridesmaid, you are saying you are going to be with this couple. You're going to support them. You're standing before God saying you agree with their marriage. You're standing before God and you are saying, like, this is, like, it's a big deal to be someone's bridesmaid. And that's another thing, like, we don't do, I think, properly in our society. We just think, oh yeah, anybody I like. No, you don't want anybody you like up there. You want someone who's going to stand with you, throughout your life and throughout your marriage that's always going to, your husband made you upset because he didn't take out the garbage when you really want to. You want the friend that's going to say, you guys are married, talk to him, talk to God, talk to him. You don't want the friend that's like, oh yeah, girl, he didn't take out the garbage, please, like, divorce him. That's not who you want. You want someone who's going to stand with you. So
with both of you. Yeah, with both of you. And who is at your marriage and like saw you guys, be bonded into one and stands with this. I mean, yeah, I think that's a huge problem with friends in general right now, is that they see married couples and like they think, oh, like I want to be on this one's good side, or I want to be in reality, if you have a healthy marriage, to be on one of the couple's good side, to be on one of the person's good side, is to be on both of theirs, because you guys you're bonded into one when you're married.
One. So, yes. And it's the two of you against the problem, not the two of you against each other. And so when she told me that, she was just like, if you're saying before God, you bless, you you support this marriage and everything. She's like, if that's not truly how you feel, you need to say something. So I called her. Well, first I texted her, which I will admit that was not appropriate. I was just so nervous. First I texted her, and then I was like, that's not right. So I called her and talked to her about it. And then I said, I can't do it. And that was so hard. I cannot express how hard that was. I felt so terrible because her twin sister dropped out, and her grandmother said she wasn't coming. So that's the other thing too. Like, red flag.
Yeah. If there's more than one people, it's not. It's not.
Yeah. So like, I feel like I was adding more stress to it, and I felt terrible, but I was like, I can't do this. It was weighing on me. Anyway. All that to say, marriage is serious. I take it seriously. So if you ask me to be in your wedding, like, make sure you know that I support your marriage. Like, yeah. I forgot why we were saying that, but maybe someone needed to hear that. Marriage is serious. Accept bridesmaid. If someone asked you to be bridesmaids, accept it if you truly believe that that marriage is going to be blessed by God. Okay, so
yeah, we were saying that because you were asking me what I was doing this weekend, or how my week was. And I was like, and then we got into that conversation. So
yes, and then you asked me how my week was. So my week, so today's my dad's birthday, and then, or a couple days before you guys hear this, is my dad's birthday, so we're celebrating his birthday.
It's my mom's birthday today. That's so funny.
Oh, that's so also cool. Yeah, and then another one of my friends, her birthday's today, and we celebrated her a couple days before too. Yeah, we threw her a surprise birthday, which was super fun.
Oh, that looks fun.
Yeah, so that has been how my week is. My upcoming week is going to be fun too. Galentine's Day. Are you doing anything with your girls for Galentine's Day?
So I was like really emotional about this yesterday, because we normally do. Like last year we had this huge like painting party, like pink all over. Yeah. And we were gonna do it again this year. And like, I mean, this is not something that I normally say, but our lives are literally like, we're planning multiple people's weddings right now. Like, we're doing, people are having babies, all this stuff. So like, we're already seeing each other so much for that, and we don't have like an extra night to do that. But it was funny because I was texting in the group chat the other day. I was like, guys, I feel so sad that we're not doing Galentine's Day. So we'll see if something happens, because we're gonna continue it in the coming years. Yeah. But this year, for some reason, everyone's lives are just like in transition, and we're like helping each other with that transition. And everyone's just like exhausted, and like it's like, I don't know about planning a whole Galentine's Day, because we like to either like go big or go home. Like it's either gonna be like huge. It's not just gonna be like coming to someone's house and hanging out. If we're doing Galentine's Day, it's gonna be super fun. But we'll see. That might change. What are you doing for Galentine's Day?
Yeah, so I'm throwing a paint and pasta night.
That's so fun. Fun. I've seen videos of, we didn't do the pasta last year. That would be super fun though. How are you doing that? Are people bringing pasta, or are you? So I was going back and forth on like how we would do it. So everybody brings your own pasta. So I'm actually going to go to Sprouts, and for those who don't know, I'm trying to be healthy, do high protein. So I'm going to try to find like a good noodle that isn't like pasta noodle. Yeah. And then I actually make my own Alfredo sauce, and it's so good. High protein, delicious. Yeah. So I'm going to, like, everybody's bringing their own pasta, and then I got like, they're pretty small, but they're easels and
paint things, the thing you actually paint on. It was like a pack of, I think 20 for like $20, something like that. And then a lot of my friends already kind of paint for fun, so we already have the paint and stuff.
Yeah.
And then everybody's wearing pink or red. The dress I have is actually red. It's going to shock everybody. I have a red dress, not a pink dress this time.
Ooh.
But it was something I already had and I hadn't worn yet, and it looks really cute. So I was like, I'll do that. And yeah, we're doing that. And then I have like a cute little gift thing that I don't want to say. I don't want anyone listening to know. Any of my friends, if they're listening. But I have a really cute little thing I'm going to give everybody. And then what else? I think that's kind of it we're doing this year. Last year we did some like goal setting stuff. But this year, I think we're just kind of just going to vibe.
Yeah, no, that'll be so fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
I love Valentine's Day. I love the idea of that, and I've actually been telling. I have most of my friends. Well, it's funny because I just said most of my friends are either married or having babies. Half of them are, and then half of them are like single, like super, super single, and like kind of struggling with that. And so I've been talking to them, and I was like, one thing that I did, because they're struggling around this time of year, especially obviously, like love is in the air, it's all over, right?
Yeah.
And I love that this year, but I haven't always loved that.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to them about it, and I was like, one thing that really, really helped me in previous years was Galentine's stuff. Not necessarily just a Galentine's party, but realizing that love isn't just romantic. Like you have strong love between your friends. In Greek, there's like three separate words for love, and only one of them is romantic love. And so remembering that, you have, I believe it's filial love for God, right? No, I'm not gonna say agape is love for God.
Yeah,
I think filial might be family. I'm not gonna say the rest of them because I'm gonna sound dumb because I haven't looked into this in a while. But there's 3 different kinds of love, and realizing that even if you aren't in a place where you have romantic love this year, you can still celebrate Valentine's Day. You don't have to like boycott the day if you're not, if you're not in a serious relationship, if you're not married. And so I've always celebrated with my girlfriends. And I think that it's a really healthy way, instead of being like, I hate Valentine's Day, it's like, no, I have so much love in my life right now. I have so much love in my family life, in my friendships, in my passions, in my love for God. So I love that idea.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I definitely, and I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it because I want people to understand, like, I'm not one of those girls because there's people who got married at, like, they met their spouse at, like, 10, and they're trying to give it relationship advice, which there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, but, like, I want you to know, like, I'm not that person, so, like, I definitely know how it feels to be like, ugh, these are the worst 2 weeks of the year, Valentine's Day, love is everywhere. But like you said, what's really helped me is like focusing on my friendships. I feel very blessed. I have some really good friends, like some friends that I know that genuinely love me. And that even if I never get married, I know that I will still be loved, not just by them, but also, friends that have kids. Like I'm going to be in their lives too. Like I want to be helping them, so it's not like it's the end of the world. And I think that's like such a more like you can admit obviously everybody wants to be wine and dine on Valentine's Day, so you can admit that. You can admit, what, I really wish I did have a Valentine, but don't stay there. There's so many other types of love, and like I just think that if you focus more on like your friendships right now in your single season, you'll just feel so much more comfort. At least that's how I feel. Like over the last couple of months too, like I've just grown really a lot deeper with some friends that I've like reconnected with a friend that I hadn't talked to in a really long time, and I've like grown so much deeper my friendship with her, and like it's a good godly friendship too, so like really invest in those, and I just feel like it won't be such a burden for like you're not gonna want to like hide these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, so, and I actually found there's 6 words for love. I didn't know that.
Oh, I thought it was 3.
I know, I thought it was 3 too. So eros is sexual passion, like romantic love. Philia is deep friendship.
Okay.
Ludus is playful love. I don't really know. Maybe love of like kids. Agape is. It says on here agape is love for everyone, but I'm pretty sure agape means love for God.
Yeah, I think agape is used for God. Yeah.
And then pragma is long-standing love, and philiantia is love of the self.
Interesting.
So in English, there's 1 word for love. In Greek, there's 6, which is just, I mean, it's mind-blowing because we know that there's a lot of things that the English language, like, doesn't fully grasp, and, like,
yeah,
love is one of them, and this is Valentine's Day is a perfect time to remember that there's so many different ways to celebrate love in your life that are not romantic.
Yes, amen. So let us get into some stories because we have a lot to discuss today. But before that, I have a couple morning announcements. We are doing a Other Girls Share the Love Party, which is essentially we're going to get the supplies for an Embrace Grace box and make the Embrace Grace box at the U City Women's Center, and then we're going to donate it there, and we're going to kind of just like come together and do that. Second thing is we have our prayer walk April 6th with Love Life. So that week is going to be the Other Girls week, and then that Saturday is we're going to do the prayer walk. If you've never been to a prayer walk before, it is a great place to start. You don't have to interact with anyone. All we're doing is praise and worship on a separate side, and then we're going to go walk over to the facility, and it's the biggest one in the Southeast, and we're just going to pray.
Wow.
And it's a great first start. Eventually, I would love everyone to be a sidewalk advocate at least once or twice. But if not, you can, this is a great first place to start. And then Patreon, this month's giveaway is this Bible study that I'm pulling out. It is called Worthy. It is
beautiful.
Embracing Your Identity in Christ. It's so pretty. This is from Daily Grace. And as a podcast, we're going to figure out how we're going to manage this, but we're going to go through this Bible study during the month of March, because March is Women's Month, and I really want that month for us to work on, like, the theme. I do want it to be like your identity in Christ, just women things, like your identity in Christ. And let's be honest, we all struggle with that. We're women. It's God made men and women differently, and that's okay. And something that every woman struggles with is their identity. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about some health things. We're going to talk about, we might do like a true crime episode about like a diabolical woman. We did the Theranos lady a couple years ago, and maybe someone like that. So it's going to be more women focused. And during that month, we're going to go through this Bible study, embracing your identity in Christ, because that's really where your identity should be anyway. Like, your clothes, cosmetics, all those things are just, they fade. They don't really matter. Your beauty, everyone be beautiful, like, not against it at all. I work hard to, look at least halfway decent. So like, I'm not against it, but like, that's not where your identity lies. Your identity lies in Christ. So we're going to go over that. So you can win that if you join our Patreon. You can join for as low as $5 a month. You'll be entered to win this month's contest. You also will get a Patreon question when we have guests. The Thursday episode will also include a special Patreon question, have early access to special events, and you'll get at least one new episode a month. So yeah, join the Patreon. I'll link all that. All right, are you ready to get into some of our stories today?
I'm ready.
Okay, can you grab your mug and let us clink? Oh, that's cute. What does your mug say?
It's a Christmas mug. It says "Making Spirits Bright." I haven't put them away yet, so
that's okay. Okay, sorry. Right when you said clink, I was like, wait. Okay, ready and
clink.
Okay. Cutesy. All right. So first thing, something that's happening this week. By the time you guys hear this, we'll already have a winner. But I kind of, obviously, it's like a pop culture thing, so I wanted to bring it up. Who are you going for this year for Super Bowl?
So actually, Mal and I talked about this before the episode, and I know I'm going for the Chiefs, and we have kind of similar reasons. I mean, I know that you have more different reasons, but yeah. I think that, well, I just looked it up. Well, obviously, Travis Kelce is on the Chiefs, and as much as, like, I'm sick of hearing about Taylor Swift, I'm sick of whatever, I hope her and Travis Kelce work out, because
me too.
She has been through so many guys. She's gone through so much heartache. Just as a person, I hope they do. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Right. And like, forgive me for loving love. I'm sorry. Yeah, I love. Forgive me. Those of you who are rooting for her to like break up and make another album, lame. I'm sorry. I love. Sue me. Yeah.
And then the other thing is that I'm looking up his name right now.
I literally had it pulled up.
The Butker guy. Harrison Butker. He's also on the Chiefs, and Mal and I were talking about, because I think he's done a couple cool things, but he wore a tie that Live Action made that says, it's in Latin and I can't see it very well here, but it says protect the vulnerable in Latin. And he had the gold pin that said, that is the little precious feet pin. He wore this and it was like a huge deal when he was standing behind Joe Biden at a press conference a while ago. This was like 6 months ago, but we like created it for him and all this stuff. And you can see, like, if you look up Harrison Butker pro-life tie, you can see him, like, Biden's talking and you can see him in the back with this tie on. It's iconic. I love when high profile people share their beliefs in very simple ways such as this, because they know that there's going to be press there. They know that there's going to be a ton of photos taken. They don't have to go and shout, I'm pro-life, whatever. All you have to do is wear a tie. The tie's in Latin. Like, honestly, Biden probably didn't even see it or notice it. But when the photo is shared, it's going to be news, because it's going to be like, oh, what does his tie say? Oh, it says protect the vulnerable in Latin. Like, what does that mean? Oh, what does this pin mean? That's amazing. So he is amazing.
Iconic.
So I don't really pay attention to football, but there's two really cool players on the team that I'm rooting for this year.
That is iconic. I feel like I heard this story, but, I'm not really
a while ago.
Yeah. And I'm not really a sports girly, I'll admit that. So, like, it probably went over my head. But now that, for the next week or so, I have to be a sports girly.
I know, right?
Now I'm like, oh, this is so cool. So, yeah, he's the main reason that I am going for the Chiefs. Also, of course, I love love, so I'm voting for Team Love. And then another reason, let me explain something to you guys. I said this on my Facebook, and people laugh, but this is how I truly feel. I'm not a sports girly. I was like, okay, I was like, I think I'm going to go for because I said I was going for the 49ers, and then someone's like, they were in not 49ers, the Chiefs. They were like, they were in the Super Bowl last year. And I was like, oh, that's true, they were. So I should go for the 49ers because I like an underdog. Y'all, you'll never believe this. The 49ers have also been to the last 4 out of 5 Super Bowls as well. So they both go to the Super Bowls. Yeah, they both are good at winning. So I'm like, yeah. And I know this is dumb, but they should give someone else a chance. I know that's not how sports works. I know that's not how sports works.
I didn't know that. I mean, why aren't more people talking about that?
Right. And like, what? Come on, other teams. Like, you can't let these same people. And so then I was like, okay, I can't root for the 49ers either. They've been tons of times. So then I went back to the Chiefs, and then, Butner and Kelsey. So I was like, okay, I'm sticking with the Chiefs now. But that was my mindset. I typically like to go for the loser team, the team that isn't as good. I don't know, that's just more fun. But now I'm going for the Chiefs. So, and they're both red, by the way. So I don't know how I'm gonna tell them apart.
That's the other thing. I don't understand football anyway. My husband played football in high school, so he really likes it. So he always understands it. But I like going to football games in person. Like,
me too.
Like, I love that. And I mean, the Super Bowl, obviously we're gonna watch it. It's one Sunday a year, and I love seeing the ads and the halftime show. Even because there's always controversy, there's always something, whether it's good or whether it's bad. Yeah. There's always something newsworthy, and so I like to keep up to date on what the heck is going on there. So at least the past few years, I definitely have watched it, but not necessarily for the football part.
Yeah. No, literally. And the last party I went to last year was with some of my friends, and I think it was mainly guys there, and they would talk during the commercials, and I'm like, this is so awkward because this is the best part. Can y'all like stop?
Part I want to watch. Like,
yeah,
I know. I remember that last year. I was with some of my family down here last year. Like, they were vacationing somewhere, and I went down to visit, and then my brother came. And so, at the halftime, I mean, my family's a little bit more into like the controversial stuff, so some of them were interested, and some of them were just like, oh, this is when we go get our snacks. I'm like, no, this is what I care about. Like, I don't care about
And then it was such is she pregnant? Is she not pregnant? Like, everybody at the party.
Initially, I was like, oh, she's 100% pregnant. Yeah.
I couldn't remember how long ago she had the baby, so I was like, maybe it was still, because, sometimes not everybody bounces back right away.
That's true.
So I was like, is she, maybe it's still from the baby, but then she, like, announced she was pregnant. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, that was, like, super, like, is she pregnant? Is she not pregnant?
That was iconic. I loved it.
It was iconic. I know, me too. It was such a good performance. And literally it went, I think I waited maybe like 10 minutes and I was like, okay, everybody, have a good rest of the night. Like, I don't care about the rest.
And you were like, okay, bye.
Yeah, I was like, all right, bye. I'll see everybody later. No, literally, I saw why I came, so I'll see you later. It's getting a little late.
Yeah, I don't think I never watched to the end, really.
No. I can hear about it the next day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our sports segment. I guess by the time you guys hear this, we'll have a winner. I guess tell us who you were going for by the time you hear this. Hopefully something cool happened, and like if something really cool happened during the Super Bowl, add it to the comments. Be like, oh, this cool thing that happened was crazy.
I feel like it will.
I hope so.
There's always something that people are talking about after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hope something crazy happens. I hope it's very entertaining. That's, as a non-sports fan, that would make me want to be more involved, included in everything, as if, somebody pop culture-wise is something crazy. So our next story is really not a story. By the time you hear this, it'll be about a week since the Grammys happened. Yes. And this year's Grammys, I actually watched up until, I want to say like 9:30, 10-ish, and then I was like, I gotta go to bed. But I saw clips and stuff like that for what I missed, and it was actually kind of interesting. Trevor Noah was a little boring, but he also wasn't mean, so I guess that's good, question mark. Good. But he his comedy was in, and then I liked some of the performances, not all the performances, and I was really happy Flowers by Miley won because she worked really hard.
I also loved that. I also loved it. And I saw it getting a good amount of hate. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. I have thoughts on that, but you can go first.
No, I think, okay, when the song Flowers, I feel like it came out around Valentine's Day last year, didn't it?
It did, yep.
Yeah. People are like, it promotes like just such an individualistic society, blah blah blah. It downplays marriage. It doesn't talk about anything about marriage. Like, it literally all it is. It's like, I can be happy on my own, and like I think that's a fine ideology to promote. So I love that song. I hated her outfit. Ugh,
oh my goodness. Did you like it? Red carpet? No, I'm saying it was terrible. The red carpet one, awful.
So bad. But so I was like, okay. So that's why I didn't like repost anything about it. But I thought it was great. I think that's a great song. I think it's, it is women empowerment, but it's not women empowerment in a bad way. Like, women empowerment isn't always bad. And that's what I feel like we've gone to so far of the aisle that it's like, oh, women's empowerment has to always be bad. It's like, not really. It's good to be happy single. And yeah, that's it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. So she did an outfit change to receive the award. I did like that one. When you get a chance, you should look it up. It was so much better.
I'll look it up.
Her red carpet look, not it. But when she received the award, I really liked that outfit. And I love the song Flowers. And I agree everything you said, Savannah. It is not like an anti-marriage song. It's not. I saw someone post about how it was self-love, and I wrote this long paragraph to respond, and then I was like, you know what, they're not going to listen to me, and I deleted it. But I was glad I got my thoughts out, even if I didn't send it. But it has nothing to do with like it doesn't mention marriage. The idea of Flowers is to understand you don't have to have someone to enjoy your life, especially after they have hurt you, and not just hurt you like oh, they were no, but like the idea is like the person cheated, the person said some very cutting things, and it's okay to be happy. That's one thing I think we need to do better. Like you said, we've like gone so far on the other side, and this is my thought as a Christian. You guys can, leave your comments if you disagree. I think one thing as Christians, like I have noticed, for example, like conservatives have really taken the extreme on just about every topic, and it's getting a little weird. I think as Christians, we need to stay grounded and like in the truth. So, if another time, like back when Flowers was popular, I made the comment, like it has nothing to do with, self, like this over the negative self-love. It just has to do with like enjoying the season you're in and reminding yourself, if you really want flowers, you can buy yourself flowers. And someone was like, well, we're just so used to society saying, and I was like, I don't care what society says. Look at the art. What is the art saying? Like, you don't have to add stuff to it. We got to be better. Just like being grounded. Like, who cares what the society says? What we're saying is this particular piece of art is saying X, Y, and Z. And it's just something we need to work on as conservatives. And people get fatigued being in, conservative media for a long time, and we can do another episode on that. But I think it's just best if we, as Christians, like, our call as Christians is going to be very different than all the other conservative commentators. Like, as a Christian, you're going to interpret things, you're going to say things, you're going to look at things much differently. Anyway, love the song Flowers. And last thing I'm going to say about that, because honestly I really want to talk about Miley, that was the main reason to bring this up. During her acceptance speech, she told the story, and like I'm paraphrasing it, but essentially she was saying it's a story of this kid who's trying to catch a butterfly, and the butterfly's flying, and he's like reaching out trying to catch a butterfly, and then he feels so defeated he couldn't catch a butterfly, and he sits down and he pouts like, oh man, I didn't catch the butterfly. And then right when he sits down and he had stopped trying, the butterfly lands on his nose. And that is such a good story. And she said that that's what Flowers was, because this is Miley Cyrus's first Grammy, which is crazy.
Right.
I mean, she's Hannah Montana.
Crazy. I know, I heard that, and I was like, what?
Yeah. And she said like she's wanted a Grammy her whole life. Obviously, if you're an artist, you want that. And she said that she's tried before, but that she was like, you know what, I'm just gonna write this song. I like this song, I'm gonna put it out. And then that's the song that got the Grammy. And it deserves it. Love the song. Yeah. So I just like, and that's such a good lesson for us. Like, sometimes we're trying so hard to get something, and it could be what God has for us. We're trying so hard, we're doing all the things that we need to do, and then sometimes we just need to just like let it go. Let God be in control and just like take a step back, and then you'll get the thing that you want. So that's just a lovely story.
I hadn't heard that, because I didn't actually watch the Grammys. We don't have like the TV network that you need to actually watch some of those things live. Like, some of them we can get, but some of them we can't. And so I didn't watch it live, but I was like watching all the like commentators and comment and stuff. So I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that story, but that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. It was a great story. And anything else you want to talk about from the Grammys? I'm trying to think. I don't really think anything else. Yeah, me neither. I didn't think that, and I can't remember specifics, but like the outfits weren't that bad. Like, sometimes they're terrible. Like they weren't that bad. Everyone was like hating on Taylor Swift's outfit. Like, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was, a little bit strange how it was just like black and white. And everyone was like, what the heck was going on with her hair? Well, it was storming, right? Like, it was raining really, really hard. Fair. So I figured it just kind of like got, and then like Olivia Rodrigo's outfit wasn't bad. They were some of them were like more classy than I've seen, like, in the elegant past. Yeah, more like elegant, which I was surprised about, but I liked that. Yeah, me too. That's another good point too. I think I said that to my mom. I was like, a lot of the outfits were a lot better this year. They're more elegant, a little bit classier. Wild. Yeah, they're normally like something totally out of and there of course were some that were totally out of the box. But like Miley, some of the women, especially like the women that I know more, the outfits weren't bad. So yeah. And I do want to, so what you said about Taylor Swift's hair, very good point, because I'm not gonna lie, I saw that and I was like, oh girl, like I saw that initially and I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, did no one do your what happened? But you're right, it was raining, so that's it was I'll give her a pass. Like torrential, like people were like walking through. I saw like some like BTS and stuff of it. People were like walking, like people who like didn't have shoes on were like walking through all this. Like, I don't know where was it? Where's the Grammys filmed at? Good question. Las Vegas, California, sure, yeah. Or yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, somewhere out there in the West. Yeah, it was like bad raining, so I figured that's probably what happened. I'll give her a pass. Olivia Rodrigo's hair was beautiful, so like, how did that happen? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and she got there late, so maybe like Taylor got traffic or something, so and then she didn't get to have the whatever. I don't know, but yeah, you know what? She'll get a pass for her hair on this time. I do agree. And my best dress, if you guys, most people don't know this person. I don't know why, but Madison Beer is her name. I think she looks so good. She's long, but I can't picture her face. She has she's white, long brown hair. I don't really know how else to describe her, but I loved her Grammy dress. Yeah, I think she has some really good songs. I will say she kind of sounds like every other pop girly, so I think, and she hasn't really done anything to like make herself different. Oh yeah, so I guess gorgeous. She looked gorgeous. Yeah, this is what I mean. Beautiful. The dresses were more classy. Like, it's just more classy. It was a classy affair this time, which I liked. Yeah. I
I like bold. I really do. But you can be bold and be classy. I will say this was a classy affair, and I wouldn't say any of the outfits were bold. But I do like that they looked good. I think you can do bold and classy. I want to say Lily Reinhardt's dress from the Met Gala, I think it was Americana, might have been bold and classy. I can't remember, but I have seen bold and classy, but these dresses were very good. I really liked them. Okay, we have so much to talk about. We got to move on. And I'm talking to myself really because I can go on and on about stuff. Oh, so we also are going to do, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to do one story, Teacap of a African American, a Black figure that you might not have heard of. So I'm going to try to do this one quickly. This is about Bessie Coleman. I personally had never heard of her.
I never heard that name.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then how she died is very interesting too. Okay, here we go. So this is from womenshistory.org. Bessie Coleman soared across the sky as the first woman of African American and Native American descent to earn her pilot's license in the U.S. She is known for performing flying tricks, and her nicknames were Brave Bessie, Queen Bess, love that, and the only race aviatrix in the world. Her goal was to encourage women and African Americans to reach their dreams, and this became her legacy. Though her life and career were cut short in a tragic plane crash, her life and legacy continue to inspire people around the world. She was born in Atlanta, Texas, which is interesting. I didn't know there was an Atlanta in Texas.
I didn't know that existed either.
In 1892, and she had 12 brothers and sisters. Her mother was a maid, and her father was a sharecropper of mixed Native American and African American descent. In 1901, her father decided to move back to Oklahoma to try to escape discrimination. Her mother decided not to go with him. So her mother and some of her siblings stayed in Texas. She grew up helping her mother pick cotton and wash laundry to earn extra money. By the time she was 18, she had saved enough to go to attend the Colored Agricultural and Normal University, which now is called Langston University in Oklahoma. She had to drop out because she could no longer afford tuition. That didn't stop her. At age 23, she went to live with her brothers in Chicago, and there she went to the Burnham School of Beauty and Culture in 1915, and she became a manicurist at a barbershop. Meanwhile, her brothers served in the military during World War I and came home with stories of their time in France. Her brother John teased her because French women were allowed to learn how to fly airplanes, and in the U.S., she could not. Her brother's stories, along with other news of pilots in the war, inspired her to become a pilot. She applied to many flight schools across the country, but no school would take her because she was both African American and a woman. So a famous African American newspaper publisher told her to move to France, where she could learn to fly. And since her application to flight school needed to be in French, she began taking French classes at night. Coleman was finally accepted into the Caudron Brothers School of Aviation in Le Courtois, France, and she received her international pilot's license in 1921 from some French place. She then returned to the U.S. Her dream was to own a plane and to open her own flight school. She gave speeches and showed films of her air tricks at churches, theaters, and schools to earn money, and she refused to speak anywhere that was segregated or discriminated against African Americans. In 1922, she performed the first public flight by an African American woman. She was famous for doing loop-the-loops and making the shape of an 8 in an airplane. People were fascinated by her performances, and she became more popular in the U.S. and in Europe. She toured the country giving flying lessons and performing flight shows. All right, now this is her tragic end. On April 30th, 1926, she took a test flight with a mechanic named William Wills, and Wills piloted the plane while Coleman sat in the passenger seat. At 3,000 feet in the air, a loose wrench got stuck in the engine of the aircraft. Wills could no longer control the steering wheel, and the plane flipped over. Coleman was not wearing a seatbelt, and at the time, airplanes did not have a roof. So due to her unfastened seatbelt, when the plane flipped over, Coleman fell out of the open plane. She did not survive the fall. Wills crashed the aircraft a few feet away and also died in the accident. Her death was heartbreaking for thousands of people across the world. At her funeral, famous activist Ida B. Wells delivered her eulogy. Though she died at the age of 34, her legacy continues to inspire communities all over the country. In 1931, the Challenger Pilots Association of Chicago started a tradition of flying over Coleman's grave every year. And many aviation clubs were named in her honor, including the Bessie Coleman Aero Club, organized by William Powell in 1930s, and the Bessie Coleman Aviators, which formed in Chicago in 1977. And Mae Jensen, who was the first African-American woman that went into space, had her picture in her pocket. So that was interesting.
She did a lot.
Wow. I know. And to be so young.
Yeah, to be so young, and she was going all over the country to learn, and then out of the country. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think that it's interesting when you were reading that story, like, people just in our culture today hate difficulty. They hate adversity. They hate anything like that. They're like, I'm not going to be able to succeed because of this little thing. Or, that's not fair. But it's like, okay, look at a story like that. The reason she was able to succeed was because of her pushing through that. I don't know if she would have succeeded if it was so easy. Sometimes when things are so easy for us to obtain, there's not as much of a will to get them. And so, it's cool that she had 12 siblings or whatever. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. That's amazing. Like, her mom was probably amazing and super, super encouraging. It's a really cool story.
Yeah, I had never heard it either. And it's very inspirational because, I mean, just thinking about, she learned a whole nother language to take the application to go to another country where she wasn't even fluent in the language, to learn to do something she wanted to do. And I guess, like, the biggest lesson out of, hearing something like that is, like, when you want it bad enough, you'll just keep pushing, you'll keep working. Like, every road step, she couldn't because she was African American. She couldn't because she was a woman. Yeah. She couldn't because she needed to learn French. She couldn't because she didn't have any money. Like, every road step, if you want something bad enough, you just keep going. And you're so right about, like, sometimes we just really don't want to do the hard thing. I know myself, sometimes I get so exhausted of just always doing the hard things. But you're right. I mean, a woman she pushed through. Like, the part that really threw me was when she said she had to learn French to do the application. I was like, okay, this woman was determined. So that's really cool. Yeah. Sad about how she died, because that's literally a freak accident. Very sad.
That is really terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a super cool story. Love it.
Yeah. So we'll do more of these, one a week for the rest of Black History Month. Okay. So let's do our next story. The next two stories are honestly sad and frustrating. So I'm going to play this video, and then it's the video you sent me, and then Savannah and I are going to comment on it.
I accessed abortion care that has allowed me to go to college.
Actually, sorry guys, let me
When I was a teenager, I accessed abortion care that has allowed me to go to college, to graduate school, to receive an MED, to teach, and to be a state representative. And it allowed me to have my children when I was ready, both physically and emotionally, including the baby girl I gave birth to just last week.
And for context, for those who I'll link it and everything, if you haven't gotten a chance to look at this video, she's holding a baby, her child, while she's saying this. Savannah, what are your thoughts?
I just saw this last night. Yeah, she's a state representative in New Hampshire. I just looked to make sure that I was correct about this. It's such a short clip, but there's so much packed in it. She's perpetuating the lie. I mean, first of all, she's perpetuating the lie that you need abortion to be successful. And honestly, this kind of goes back to your past story. This woman, what was her name again that you were just talking about?
Bessie Coleman.
Bessie Coleman pushed through so many adversities. She learned a new language so that she could get where she wanted to be. Mm-hmm. This lady killed her children so she could get where she wanted to be. Her child or children. I don't know how many abortions she had, but she killed these children so that she could get where she wanted to be. And she's saying, and it allowed me to have a child when I was ready. No, she already has she has children. She has other children that she chose to kill to be where she wants to be. So, sure, she got to the place that she wanted, but is it worth the lives of these children? And that's just the crazy thing to me, is that some people like her will admit that the deaths of her children are worth being where she wants to be in life. And I don't think that should be something that any woman has to deal with. I don't think that should be something that is an option for any women. And that's why I'm completely banning abortions in the United States. Because when you talk to women, when you look at the way that the lies that Planned Parenthood pushes, the marketing Planned Parenthood pushes, really tries to convince women that it's not killing their child, or even if it is, you have to do this to get there. This is not empowering women. It's the opposite. It's saying you're so weak. You can't have a baby and do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. It's just such an anti-empowering women movement. And you see it in a video like this. Like, it's obviously ironic that she's carrying her little baby who she had a week ago, and and saying this stuff. But the other thing that it makes me think about is, it's like, okay, you're a week postpartum. Like, that's crazy that you're up and about doing this. But think about, like, you're strong. Like, maybe you could have done that with your other kids. You could have done that with your other kids. Why are you saying that you couldn't have? And that's what I hate about this, is people are like, I needed to kill my baby to succeed. I couldn't have done this. It's like, you're putting yourself down, like, so much. You're saying you're so much weaker than you actually are, because you're showing through that you are a really, really strong woman. So I don't know. There's so many things to unpack in there. It's obviously just lies of our culture too, but I thought that it was just a very telling video.
I agree. Everything you said, I 100% agree with. I have thought what you've said, like, I've thought long and hard about the idea of, like, it's an anti-women empowerment movement. So I want to talk about that first. The idea that you can't do something in general isn't positive. Like, that's not like a, you got it, girl. That's not a positive.
Exactly.
And then the idea that something that, like, at the end of the day, whether women want to admit it or not, whether you are called to do it or not, doesn't matter. But, like, our bodies were designed to do this. You might not be called to do it, but your body was designed to do this. If you are pregnant, then it's safe to say you were called to do this. Right. So the idea that we would tell women that one of the things that your body was designed to do, that women, millions of women, billions of women have done for thousands of years, the idea that you cannot do that is not empowering. It's not, I think she went up there trying to be like, rah, rah, I am this great warrior. No, you're telling women that they cannot do something. Yeah. I also love the point you made that, like, the fact that she's a week postpartum up there, that's crazy. You're right. That is crazy. So she is strong. Like, it's not like she couldn't have done it. And the other thing I want to say is, like, this, why women, like, buy into this really goes to, like, foundations. I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, why do I believe, like, certain things that people who we should be on the same page, but we just don't believe? I think women who truly believe, like, you can't do this with a child, it goes to the foundation of, like, how we see children. And, like, I think it does not do the pro-life movement a good service to be like, oh, you have a child and everything's better. I wake up, I saw this tweet the other day, I wake up whenever I'm a stay-at-home mom, I wake up whenever I want. And I do this whenever I want because my husband pays my bills. Okay, that's not realistic. I'm sorry. When you have children, you don't wake up whenever you want. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices. And that goes back to Bessie once again, like what you said, like, our culture kind of doesn't want to do sacrifice right now. Our culture is like, I'd rather things be easy. But, like, anyway, it goes back to the foundation of, like, how do you view, like, children? How do you view family? How do you view, like, human beings? Like, are human beings, like, the idea of a human, is that a net positive, a net negative? Right. And I think that is really what this all boils down to, is, like, how people view human beings. And, like, if you truly think that you can't do something, like, I would not be successful if I didn't have to murder my own child. Like, that is just such a unempowering, such a negative, such, like, a terrible view of, like, humanity, essentially.
It is. And the other thing is, like, to do what? To be a state representative. I'm not putting down state representatives. I'm saying that was worth it. Like, was that really
Right.
worth it? Because also you can just tell in people's tone of voice. Like, I watched this TikTok the other day that is true. Like, it made me think a little bit. It's like, you can tell when a woman's being properly loved. Like, you can tell when a woman's happy. Like, women can tell when women are certain things. There's a few other things about that, and I could just tell by her tone of voice. I don't think she's happy. I don't think she's happy. I don't think she's happy about this. I think she's promoting an agenda. And the other thing that it made me think about was, there's so much I could say about this, but to keep it short, I think that our culture, even the Christian conservative culture, has a tendency to tell women that, oh, just do this right now because once you have kids, you won't be able to do it. And that scares people. That really scares people. Or once you get pregnant, you won't be able to do this. And I've been told that by people throughout my life, just people, go ahead, travel now because once you have kids, you won't be able to do that. And they're well-meaning people. And it's like, yes, my life is going to change, of course. But I've even been told by people, oh, once you're pregnant, like you shouldn't be traveling, you shouldn't be doing all this stuff. And it's like, I'm doing it, like, and it's fine. And like, it's my choice to do that. And we're promoting choice, like true choice that doesn't involve killing children. And Autumn Higashi actually talked about this. I don't know if you follow her, but that's not her new last name. But she talked about this because she chose to stop working when she got pregnant. And all these pro-choicers were like, you proved that you can't do it. You can't work and be pregnant. You can't do it. You've been telling women you can do it. She's like, no, I showed that we have a choice. Like, I showed that I'm advocating for women's choice.
Yeah.
And she chose to stop working. I chose to keep working and keep traveling. Obviously, it's changed a little bit. It does change. You have to work with your body. You have to see what you can do. But it's just this attitude of pushing women down, saying women can't do this. And that's the opposite of what women empowerment should be. So I feel bad for this woman, but it's upsetting to hear, and upsetting that people see that as empowerment, because we can do so much more, as women, our bodies were designed to have children. And as women, we're also designed to be multitaskers. Our brain goes a million different places. Like, we're designed to. So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, I think that sometimes Christians and conservatives have leaned too much to the part of, do this now while you don't have kids. Like, you're not going to be able to do it anymore. It's like, that's actually also telling women that they can't do something. Like, if we're all for women's choice, just let women choose. Like, do we really trust women? Because neither side is really, saying that they are. So anyway, that's my little soapbox moment, but I've been thinking about that lately.
No, I think you're so right in that. Especially with like, we have to be honest, like I said, and like you said, we have to be honest. Sure, traveling's going to look different, but you can still travel. I mean, you go on planes and there are people on planes. It's not the end of the world. You can still do things, and we have to be more honest with that. And one other thing I want to say really quick, because we are running out of time, as we always do, about the mom. One thing that has helped me have a little bit more patience and compassion for pro-choice people in general is, I truly believe that, like, a lot of people might not really be actually pro, or like, they recognize what they did was wrong, but it's so hard to like admit that. So you go so hard the other way. You start to be such a stronger pro-choice advocate, because it hurts too much to realize like what you did was wrong. And I can kind of pick that up on her. I don't know her full story. I don't know anything about this woman other than this awful clip. But that is the vibe I'm getting from her. Like, at least that's the vibe she's putting off. That she it hurts her. She regrets it, but she's pushing that down as far as she can and going so much further the other way, because you can't confront that. Because when you really think about what you've done, I'm sure it's an awful feeling. And unless you, repent and you're healed, and unless you repent and are healed by Jesus, like, you won't feel better. You just won't.
Yeah, it's the worst thing. Like, I can't imagine, like, as like being pregnant right now, like, I can't imagine if previously I had, and I don't think that, like, women, obviously they they don't perform the abortion procedure, right? I don't think, this is a whole nother conversation, but I don't think that they should be jailed. I think the doctor should be, but you had consented to allow your child to be killed, and then like throughout your whole 9 months of the next pregnancy, you're thinking about that. Like we can't block that out. And so it is so sad. And that's why we have abortion healing. That's why we have programs for abortion healing, because it's, it's synonymous to healing from murdering someone. Like that guilt is something that I don't know how anyone can live with. So yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to see, and it's sad terrible to see, but
yeah, I agree. I will say we definitely should do an episode. I think eventually there should be a punishment. We don't have to get into that, but I definitely don't know if and I think it would definitely have to. It's the people like that. I don't know if you've seen the lady, come with me as I get an abortion. Like people like that absolutely need to be punished. It's just but the thing is, you gotta figure, like it's so nuanced. Right now, for sure, let's do something about these doctors. I know that.
Right.
Like,
right
that,
now,
I believe. Do something about these doctors. But so yes, everything you said, I agreed with. So our next story is kind of two stories in one. Sorry, I'm like kind of rushing now because I really want to talk about these stories, and we're almost at an hour. Okay. And I don't want to rush. Yeah, and I don't want to rush through these two stories because I think they're very interesting and they're kind of connected. So they're kind of one big story. So this first one I'm going to read is from NBC News. Everyone be prepared. You're going to be shocked. This is a headline. Texas attorney who poisoned pregnant wife with abortion medication sentenced to, I'll wait a second, you say, how long do you think this gentleman who, let me read it again, poisoned pregnant wife with abortion medication, everyone pause, how long do you think he got sentenced to jail? I'll give you a minute. 180 days in jail. Here we go. Mason Herring's estranged wife told a court that her now 1-year-old daughter has developmental delays and attends therapy 8 times a week. A Texas attorney who pleaded guilty to slipping abortion medication into his pregnant wife's drinks was sentenced to 180 days in jail. Catherine Herring, the estranged wife of Mason Herring, told a Harrison County court Wednesday that the sentence was not strict enough. Their now 1-year-old daughter has developmental delays and attends therapy 8 times a week. Quote, I do not believe that 180 days is justice for attempting to kill your child 7 separate times. He's accused of drugging her drink.
7 times?
Yes. He is accused of drugging her drinks he gave to his wife of 11 years after learning in 2022 that she was pregnant with their 3rd child. A complainant states that at the time the pair was separated but had agreed to attend couples counseling. She told the police that during a counseling session, she told her husband about the pregnancy and he had a negative reaction. And after that evening, he sent her text messages expressing that he was not happy about the pregnancy and did not know what to do. He allegedly told her that the pregnancy would ruin his plans and make him look like a jerk. Their counselor suggested the two spend spring break apart. The wife told authorities that her husband began to talk to her about her hydration and how she needed to drink more water. On March 17, 2022, he brought her breakfast and water and said he would not leave until she drank the whole cup, according to the complainant. She noticed that the water looked cloudy, but her husband said it's because the cup or pipes were dirty. After drinking the beverage, she became severely ill and experienced cramping. She began to bleed and she went to the emergency room. Suspecting that her husband was trying to poison her, Catherine Herring said she set up cameras around the house. She told police that on 6 other occasions, he gave her beverages mixed with abortion medication, but she did not drink them. She also gave authorities videos that showed Mason Herring mixing a substance into her drink and throwing away trash from his car. She told authorities that she went through the discarded trash and found packaging for a medication that contained misoprostol, we've talked about this on that podcast, which is used to induce abortion. Mason Herring, who was a Houston attorney, according to the AP, was initially charged with felony assault to induce abortion. he accepted a plea agreement on charges of injury to a child and assault of a pregnant person. In addition to 180 days in jail, a judge ordered him to 10 years of probation and barred him from having contact with his estranged wife and their 1-year-old daughter. Now, everyone take a minute to let that sink in. You want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You can go first on this one. I keep going first.
Okay. I don't mind. Okay. I saw this headline on Twitter and I was like, oh, okay, I'm misunderstanding the headline. There has to be more to this. Like, this is impossible. No, I read the story and it is true. This person tried to drug his pregnant wife with abortion pills, and just only got 180 days in jail. So the first thing I want to say is, like, that is absolutely diabolical. That is so disgusting. And then his argument was it would ruin his plans and make him look like a jerk. This is in quotes, by the way. Would ruin his plans and make him look like a jerk. So that means he said that to her in a text message. And that's just so, I mean, what a terrible human being. Good on her for, like, having the cameras. Good on her for, realizing something's off and not drinking the other drinks. That is good discernment on her part. And I'm so glad that he cannot have contact with her. And as much as I think children need their fathers, I do think this is an example of a man not being a man. And that 1-year-old daughter, like, he tried to kill her. That 1-year-old daughter does not need to be around this man. I also think, and this kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about, like, people's view of humanity. I also think, like, the fact that you would do this to your own child just says so much, like, such a low view that he has of children and such a low view he has of her. He was poisoning the child and he was poisoning her. I just can't imagine, like, what could have happened that would make someone, do that or, like, be like that. That's just so crazy to me. This is just such a wild story, and he got such a very low sentencing when we have, which is the story that's connected, we have prolifers that are praying out, and they, are in jail for 10 years, or prolifers that are peacefully sitting and then they go to jail for like 10 years. Like, it's just so crazy that this is how the justice system has panned out, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. What are you thinking?
Yeah. I mean, that story just shows abortion is a man's game. Like, this is just obvious. Like, well, first of all, a couple things. And I could be incorrect here, but I mean, abortion is illegal in Texas. And after 6 weeks, right?
Yes. They do have a weird thing about the pills. He can just go across I don't know.
That's the thing. All the states have a weird thing about the pills. Like, that's the issue that I have, is that, well, obviously, I mean, the issue is that there is abortion, but yeah, I know. I had a friend who wanted to see if it would happen. He ordered abortion pills to his house. Men aren't getting pregnant. How are men allowed to be ordering abortion pills? Like, you need no prescription. You need nothing. You can literally go online and order the abortion pills. And he did it 7 different times. Like, what? It's just, I mean, to anyone who wants to look at this with any sort of logic, and anyone who's saying this is a woman's right, at least make it so that only women can order the pills. Like, this is women, like, okay, like, at least, like, this is something that even pro-abortion people should agree with. This woman wanted her child. She was possibly going to have her child stripped away from her many, many times. She was hospitalized. Like, I didn't realize, so the child survived this? So she must have probably only drinking, like, the first water. But
yeah. So it probably wasn't as, sorry, really quick, it probably wasn't as potent in dropped in one. I don't know the full, but I'm guessing because it probably wasn't as potent in the first drop. And so the child does have developmental delays and has to be in therapy. So, like, that's the biggest problem, or, like, not the biggest problem. Like, that's a point that she wanted to make, that, like, her child still was affected by almost dying. Yeah.
Well, so it seems to me from the story that he was giving her the first pill, which basically strips the uterine lining and induces labor. And so that's probably what was happening. And so she's probably having contractions, having to go to the hospital. It's just, I mean, that is a wild story. It's wrong on so many levels. And the fact that he gets, what's 100 days? A couple months in prison for trying not once, but 7 times to murder your child. Like, why isn't this all over? Why isn't this completely banning abortion pills in the United States? Or at least making it so that a doctor has to give them to you. You can go online and order them. I could go online and order them right now. My husband could go online and order them right now, right? I'm 27 weeks pregnant, you know? He could give them to me, and obviously they wouldn't work right, but they would really harm my child. Obviously, he would never do that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, you know, at the very, very least, men shouldn't have access to this. Come on. Like, if we're all about women's rights, this is stripping her of her rights. This is stripping her of her rights to have her child. Like, oh my gosh. There's so much wrong with this situation. I hadn't heard about that. When did this happen? Just recently?
Yeah, this is recently, which is also crazy to me. And I hate to be like, why? I hate when people go, why isn't anybody talking about it? Because, you know, if you don't know about it, you're not going to talk about it. But it's also kind of like, why isn't anybody talking about this? Why did I have to read this on Twitter?
Yeah.
So yeah, this happened. Let me see. This happened. No, that's the other story. This happened. I think like last Friday, maybe, or like this week. February. Oh, this article I'm reading is from February 9th. So it.
Oh, wait.
So I think it happened like 2 days ago, but like still.
Okay.
When they were on trial, in my head, I'm like, why? Or when he was arrested, like this is something that you would think would be on the news when the person was arrested.
Right.
So it's just absolutely crazy story. And the reason why this is so crazy is because our next story I'm going to talk about are the 6 activists who were convicted of illegally blocking an abortion clinic in Tennessee. And, you know, these people are, so like he gets 180 days, which I'm sure he's going to get out early because good behavior, blah, blah, blah. That no one ever stays in jail for the right amount of time, for the amount of time they were given. So he's getting all this for attempted murder. And then these people who, we're going to read what they've done that is just so terrible. And I'm actually going to be reading from the, from AP News. And I'm going to read this because obviously they're not like pro-life, and I want to show, like, we're just going to show you how they are going to spin things, and then like even what they're going to say. Like I looked at some of the wording they had. It still doesn't even sound that bad, and they're still like, oh wow, and they're getting how long? Okay, so this is from AP News. 6 activists convicted of illegally blocking an abortion clinic in Tennessee. A Tennessee jury has convicted 6 anti-abortion protesters of violating federal laws after they blocked the entrance of a reproductive clinic outside Nashville nearly 3 years ago. The jury's decision, handed down late Tuesday after a week-long trial, marks the latest development in a case that has been closely watched by conservative groups of unfairly targeting abortion opponents by using the 1994 federal law designed to protect abortion clinics from obstruction and threats. Reproductive rights supporters counter the law known as the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances, or the FACE Act. We have done an episode about this. We've had Kristen come on and talk about this because we know other people who are currently sitting in prison now for the same thing. It is more critical than ever to shield abortion providers from violence. This is what this article is saying. At issue is a 2021 blockade held outside the reproductive clinic in Mount, Tennessee, in Nashville, nearly a year before the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The event was organized by anti-abortion supporters who use social media to promote and live stream actions that they hoped would prevent the clinic from performing abortions, according to the court documents. Prosecutors say participants stationed themselves throughout the office building where the Caffrey-Free Health Clinic was located, and later several began recording themselves leading a rescue, a term known amongst anti-abortion activists as dissuading women from obtaining abortion. Prosecutors added that videos from the day showed people blocking the entrance and others attempting to engage with police as a delay tactic. Around 20 people attended the blockade. While a federal jury initially indicted 11 people who participated, 6 were convicted, and those are Chester Gallagher, Paul Vaughn, Heather Idoni, Calvin Zastro, Coleman Boyd, and Dennis Green. They face up to 10 and a half years of prison and fines up to $260,000. Their sentence hearings will take place July 2nd. Quote, these defendants knowingly chose to violate laws they disagreed with. The jury's verdict today is a victory for the law of rule in the country and a reminder that we cannot pick and choose what laws we follow. The attorneys representing the defendants said they plan on appealing the convictions. The legal team has described the 2021 demonstration as a peaceful, life-affirming gathering and accused the Federal Justice Department of prosecuting pro-life activists ever since the Supreme Court's landmark of 2022. That there have been, if I can find the statistics, there have been data to show that they have ramped up things against pro-lifers.
Yeah.
We can talk about it in a little bit. This was a peaceful demonstration by entirely peaceful citizens. Let me tell you what they are going to 10 and a half years and facing $260,000 for doing. This is what they're doing. This is what they did, everyone. It was filled with prayer, hymn singing, and worship, oriented toward persuading expecting mothers not to abort their babies. Before Roe was overturned, the Justice Department oversaw just a handful of FACE Act violations. In 2021, just 3 cases involving 3 defendants were charged. In 2020, the agency handled just 1. Listen to this. By 2022, that number jumped to 11 cases involving 29 defendants. Last year, there were 10 cases and 22 defendants. So there has been an uptick. And once again, I want to just read, they're going to get 10 and a half years of prison. They're faced up to 10 and a half years of prison for peaceful, life-affirming gathering. And they prayed, sang hymns, and worshipped, as well as persuaded mothers to not abort their babies. Whereas we heard from the gentleman who tried to poison his wife with an abortion medication, 7 times, and he is getting 180 days in jail. How crazy is that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we all know to some degree that we're being persecuted because we know that this isn't just this is a spiritual battle. Like, we are being persecuted. But I think that it's really telling how drastic how drastically different it is, and how any reasonable, logical person if this wasn't pro-life or pro-choice, if this was someone that had tried to kill his child versus someone who is praying, right? Like, if it had nothing to do with politicalness, this would be unthinkable. It'd be the opposite.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not super surprised just because we see this, but I am surprised at how drastic the difference is and how they're getting away with this,
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just the time that we live in. I think it's very important to stay, as people say, prayed up and Bibled up. We need to be reading our Bibles. We need to be praying, and you do need to be gathering with a body of believers, doing something. This is a time we really need to focus on relationship with God, because this is kind of the direction we're transitioning into. And it is, such a stark difference is startling. And I am kind of surprised that more people aren't talking about this. Which, once again, I hate saying that. Why isn't everybody talking about this? But it is kind of surprising that, even pro-choice just have to realize that, this is a little out of hand.
Right.
This is getting... And, I don't... Right, to say the least. And I don't want to, I believe repeal the FACE Act. And I'm not saying that this should happen, but 2 years in prison and 180 days in jail, still crazy stark difference. But makes a little bit more sense for praying, for singing hymns. If we think, just even using your logic, praying and singing hymns gives you 10 and a half years in prison.
Yeah, now, it's obvious it's another motive. If it was praying and singing hymns for anything else, nobody would look twice,
Right. And if it was, and they were in there and then they started stabbing people, okay, sure, lock them up. That makes sense. But just standing and like this is just so crazy. And I think this also just reminds you, I also don't want people to hear this and get like scared, because like I said, we're going to do Love Life.
It's like, that's the other thing, like it could, this could have been any of us.
Yes. And but I don't want you to be scared. Like, I understand why it's scary. I don't want anyone to feel scared, because at the end of the day, like, what is right is right. And I will say this, like, obviously this would never happen at Love Life, because that's not how Love Life does things. But let's say you do feel called to this and you're getting nervous. There are organizations that you can work with. They have lawyers on, if something like this happens, they have lawyers on speed dial. Like, it is, like, if this is something that you feel called to do, it is absolutely possible. But if it's not something you feel called to do, you can support those who do. These people are going to need, obviously they're going to they already have lawyers and stuff, but like they might need like other supplies. There's people who we know that are in jail now. PAU at PAAU on Instagram. Yeah, they have ways that you can reach out to people who are already in jail and you want to like email them or whatever. So there's a lot of things that we can do to like help support people who are doing this. But like, this is something that I think should not necessarily be in the back of your mind, because I really don't want people to be like, oh, I can't do any pro-life stuff, I'm going to go to jail. Like, I don't want you to feel that way. But I do want you to recognize like that we live in a time where like sometimes doing the truth and doing the right thing is hard. Sometimes you have
persecution, and early Christian, like we also live in a time where like people are paralyzed by fear, especially ever since COVID. But it's like, early Christians were killed for like tens of thousands of them were killed for standing up for their beliefs. That doesn't mean we stop standing up for our beliefs. That doesn't mean we stop doing what's right.
Correct.
It just means that we are being persecuted. And people are like, oh, you can't say you're being persecuted. Like, Christians in the Middle East are being... Okay, yes, I understand they are. This is persecution. This is modern-day persecution, Sending a pro-lifer to jail for 10 years is modern-day persecution.
Right. And reason why I'm saying... So, and because we know this is happening, the reason why I'm saying you gotta stay in your Bible, you gotta stay, prayed up and, like, with other believers. The reason why I'm saying that is because it's not going to change... Like, I think another misconception we have with Christianity, and then we got to wrap it up, but another misconception we have with Christianity is like, oh, I'm a Christian now, so, everything's going to be better. Like, oh, the sky is going to be brighter. And sure, but like, the Bible tells us we're going to be persecuted. The Bible tells us we're going to have challenges. So the idea isn't to like get rid of those challenges. The idea is to have God walk with us in these challenges, to have him help us be in our heart, to change us, so that when we are persecuted, so when, these people are in jail, that is... Sure, I cannot imagine going to jail. That sounds like one of the worst fates imaginable. Okay. That just sounds awful. So I'm sure they're having a tough time, but ideally, because they have read their Bibles, because they have been prayed up, because they have good community, they're able to get through it with God by them, and it's not the absolute end of the world. And I'm sure they're like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Okay, so that is today's stories. A good mix of pop culture. Yeah, it was a lot. We're at an hour 15. I'll try to do the outro real quick. But mixture of pop culture, mixture of pro-life news. Let us know any of your thoughts. Let us know about Super Bowl, Grammys, if you liked any of the outfits of the Grammys, if you kind of got the vibe of classierness. Let us know, how do you feel about the idea of like, it's women empowerment to kill your children. Also, let us know, had you like the Texas man and then these pro-lifers that have been jailed, do you think this is the trend, like how society's going to be trending now? Do you think that these are just like weird one-offs? Do you think that like this is just if you have ideas of like, okay, how should we fix this, anything like that, let us know in the comments. I'll also add some questions on the Spotify. Savannah, anything you want to add, anything cool coming up that you want to invite people to?
I don't know. I didn't think about it.
Sorry.
You're good. I mean, in March, the Supreme Court is hearing the abortion pill case, so I'm sure, keep an eye out. I'm sure there's going to be stuff going on in regards to that. And then in June, there's going to be the Celebrate Life Day, which is the anniversary of the Dobbs decision. I don't know if I'm going to be there because I'm due in May. So if the baby comes beginning of May, I'll probably be there. If baby comes end of May, probably not. Who knows, though? Tell women you can't do things. So,
amen to that.
But anyway, just keep keep updated. My social media is at sav.speakslife. And I always post what's going on there. So that'll be great. But anyway, yeah, this was a wonderful episode.
Yeah, I'm really glad you came on. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for listening. Make sure you share this with your friends. I think this is a good episode to share with your pro-life and your pro-abortion friends. Because I think this is something, I think we can all at least be a little outraged about the 180 days. I think that's just, I can't stop thinking about that.
And the man, yeah. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry. And the fact, just the whole story. The fact that the man gave the woman, like, this is the definition of men controlling women. I'm sorry, that is what that is. So, yeah.
I think every woman, this is one we can all lock arms and be frustrated with. So share this episode with all of your friends. And if you liked it, make sure you rate, review, subscribe. If you listen to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, all the other places that this is somehow sent to, Amazon, Audible, wherever. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, tell all your friends. And like I said, have a great night, day, evening, however, wherever you're listening. Bye.
Bye. Yay!